Good day and welcome to The State. We are delighted you could join us this afternoon. The show is brought to us by Christian Service University, located in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. My name is 𝐖𝐓𝐕 𝐊𝐚𝐬𝐞ɛ𝐛ɔ. Stay for more details.
The Christian Service University, a fully chartered private university in Ghana, is inviting applications for admission. Undergraduate programs include BSc Nursing and Midwifery, Computer Science, Information Technology, Bachelor of Business Administration, BA Communication Studies, Planning and Social Development, and Theology with Administration. Postgraduate programs include MSc in Accounting and Finance, Monitoring and Evaluation, Corporate Planning and Governance. We have MA MPhil Communication Studies, MA Christian Ministry with Management, Event Management, MPhil English and Mathematics Education. With quality, faculty and state-of-the-art facilities, we blend academic work with entrepreneurial mindset in all our programs. For more information, please call 0246 275375, 0240-154825, or 0244 596603, or visit our website www.csuc.edu.gh. CSU is located at Odeneho Kwadaso on the Kumasi-Obuasi Road, 100 meters off Star Junction. Choose CSU today to secure the future of Africa.
And to make him better known. That's
words of life, words of hope, give us strength.
Leadership must be bold, leadership must be purposeful, and leadership must be visionary. If you are content with one, God can multiply it. And people will wonder. I have said that I have seen God literally take 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes to feed a multitude. If you want to know why you were placed on this planet, you must begin with God. And he says, you were born by his purpose and for his purpose. To achieve your purpose in life, you have to know the gravity of the task ahead.
Word of life, word of hope with Most Reverend Professor 𝐽𝐶wbna Asamoah Gyedu, coming soon.
Sacrifice, oh, heed the faithful words of
Welcome back. Let us settle for W Briefs. On W Briefs, what we do is to give you an executive summary of the topic for discussion for the day. We give you a picture of how the conversation is going to look like. So, Ghana's National Cathedral is touted as a significant architectural and cultural initiative. It is aimed at creating a ceremonial landmark in the nation's capital, Accra, here, so that everyone sees that it is a tourist or a religious site for that purpose, and it is supposed to more or less inspire in us spirituality, unity, and national identity as a people. The project is the brainchild of the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he unveiled it in March 2020 as in fulfillment of a pledge he made to God that if he became the President of Ghana after 2 previous and successive attempts, he's going to build a cathedral for God. So it was the president's personal pledge. The project was designed by the renowned architect, it's a British Ghanaian architect, Sir David Ajayi of Ajayi Associates. In fact, the edifice is something that if it has seen the light of day, or if it does see, is a very huge thing that everybody will come home to look at, because it has a 500 permanent seater auditorium. It has a baptistry chapels. It has huge Bible museum, restaurants, and areas that brings delight to tourists who visit there. The project is estimated to cost about $400 million. And this $400 million includes the cost or the price tag for demolition of facilities that are already on the land, relocation of affected families, and compensation. So that $400 million that we are to use to build the cathedral will go into all this: demolitions, compensations to families, and others. This proposed national cathedral has divided public opinions, and it has faced stiff opposition. Some Ghanaians are of the view that since it was the president's personal pledge to his God, state funds should not be used. The taxpayers' money should not be used. The president should use his personal or private funds to build the cathedral. There is also the general concern about how funds have been used so far by the body or the secretariat mandated to supervise the project. Some critics have blamed the secretariat for not ensuring transparency and accountability. One such critic is this legislator. He is the MP for Norton, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and Okudzeto petitioned 𝐟𝗓 over allegations of corruption and abuse of power regarding the National Cathedral. He did that in 2023, January, requesting 𝐟𝗓 to investigate what he perceives or what he names as corruption and abuse of power there. The project has since stalled. It is about 31 months now since work was done on the project, and it has stalled due to lack of funds and resignation of some of the members of the Board of Trustees. Many Ghanaians have also called for the total suspension of the project. Let's just end it. Let's not continue with the project. And these people who are calling for it are calling out of what they term or what they perceive as the dire economic situation the country finds itself now. 𝐟𝗓 has released its findings per the petition presented to it by Okudzeto, and this report is dated Friday, November 2024. It has brought out its findings and made recommendations based on what Okudzeto Ablakwa presented to the committee. This report, which was released on 22nd, highlights several breaches of Ghana's procurement laws and issues bordering on corporate governance. The 𝐟𝗓 or commission has recommended forensic audits into the contract, into everything that surrounds the project, and has also recommended the potential prosecution of the members of the Board of Trustees of the project. So not only did they say do a forensic audit of it, but recommended that members of the Board of the Trustees are prosecuted. In the light of the recent report and recommendations by 𝐟𝗓 for further forensic investigation and possible prosecution of the trustees, we ask on the state this afternoon, should we or will this be the end of the National Cathedral project? I'll take a quick break, and when I come, I will introduce my guests to you. Stay.
We are young but wise, strong yet fragile, soft but tough. We are young people. Join me, the very Reverend Gideon 𝐷𝗓𝗓, as I connect you to the world of young people. It's Why Connect, your new and exciting young people's program, right here on Westland Television. It's Why Connect, connecting youth to Christ. Why Connect? The future is here. See you.
Welcome back. This is the state, and on the state this afternoon we are looking at the National Cathedral project. We are coming on the back of the report that was released by the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice that is calling for further forensic investigations into the petition or the let's say the conduct of the secretariat or the managers of the project, and also further asking for prosecution of some members of the Board of Trustees. We asked this afternoon, will these findings be or should it mark the end of the National Cathedral project? This afternoon we're going to interrogate the findings of Shraj, and we trust that you stay glued to your sets and then follow the conversation and then continue with it. The show is brought to us by Christian Service University, located in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. The Christian Service University is an evangelical liberal arts institution established 50 years ago to train men and women with ethical values for transformational leadership in Africa. Admissions for the 2024-2025 academic year is in progress for undergraduate and postgraduate programs. CSU offers dynamic academic and industry-driven program in nursing, midwifery, business administration, communication, planning, and computer science. For more information, please contact our admission relations officers on 02462 75375, 0240154 0244596603, or visit our website on www.csuc.edu.gh. To CSU today to secure the future of Africa. CSU, the university of choice. So we are joined in the studio by a legal practitioner. He's so poised to lead the conversation this afternoon. He's 𝐗𝐵 Afrifa. 𝐗𝐵 Afrifa is with Akufo-Addo Prempeh and Company, a legal chamber in Ghana. If you follow the legal space, you know that it's a strong chamber. So you can trust that the conversation will be backed by law and everything that we're going to have. 𝐗𝐵, welcome to the state.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. We are also joined on phone by anti-corruption campaigner. He's always been with us, 𝐷𝐸m Senano. 𝐷𝐸m, good afternoon and good to have you once again on the state.
And thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's gentlemen, let's start straight with the conversation. 𝐷𝐸m, I will be with you. So let me start with 𝐗𝐵 in the studio. Let me, for your preliminary comments, let me just ask you. This one is not the substance of the report or the discussion. The National Cathedral, the National Cathedral. Was it a good idea?
Thank you very much for this question. I'll take this opportunity to say a good afternoon to all your viewers and all Methodists across the group. The National Cathedral, as I would say, it hasn't been an issue without controversy. But in my opinion, I think that it is a good idea. We live in a state where the fundamental law of the land pushes for freedom of all religion, such that it encourages even government to support all religions that we may need. And so it brings up even the issue of people saying that Ghana is a secular state, as our constitution invites all manner of religion and even invites the government to support same. And so for us to have such a project, which would be for a public purpose and of national interest, to our benefit, to be a monument, go down in our history as one of the monuments that we may have to attract stories in this era where we are pushing for all and sundry to come to Ghana, view our projects and all that. I think it would be one of the remarkable projects we've ever had as a state. And so for me, it is a good thing, but the manner in which we go about it is something for a discussion that we are yet to have. For me, it's a good project.
Great. So I come to you, 𝐷𝐸m, for your plenary comments. And a nation or a state that has about 71.2 population professing to be Christians. I think we are the fourth after Liberia and 𝐾𝐓𝐕 𝐊𝐴, which are predominantly heavily Christian states. We are also somewhere there. I don't want to use the word was. Is the National Cathedral a good idea, 𝐷𝐸m?
Well, yes, right from the beginning, and so I align with your guest as well. I had always said I thought that this was a good idea. We're a majority Christian nation. I know the Constitution says secular, there's a disconnect with our reality or the factual situation. We are a majority Christian nation. And yes, a national cathedral is something that brings us together, potentially had that opportunity or platform to do so. So I had always supported the idea. It is only in terms of how it was rolled out that I had other ideas. I'd continue to emphasize that, look, if it's a Christian thing, let's not bring public funds into the equation so that we know what we are doing. I don't have other people who don't have the same interest contributing, and that then makes things complicated. Apart from phasing it, looking at the reality of what you can do and staggering it such that you have tangible, concrete phases that could be completed, become functional, generate income, feed into the next phase. So there are a number of things that I thought we could do differently. But in terms of the idea, I was also very much supportive.
So we, gentlemen, you both are agreeing in principle that it's a good idea. It's going to serve a purpose. Others have argued about its economic benefits that is going to bring to us, and tourism also being, I think, the fourth largest foreign exchange earner, apart from cocoa, gold, oil and gas. Tourism fetches that, and it's something that, just like he said, he also has an idea as to how we should have gone about it. Gentlemen, let's look at the report that has been released by 𝐶RAJ. Let's now look at the meat of the story. Now, 𝐶RAJ has made some findings, and we will start with the bit about terminating the contract of let's say the whole project, terminating the contract. You are a legal person. From where you sit, yes, I'm sure you might be privy to the contract. If not, at least we've heard about it, we've read about it. And we know what goes into contract formation and all that, and its performance and discharge and all that. What, per the findings or per the recommendation of 𝐶RAJ, was there a legal issue with the contract?
Indeed so. There was a legal issue, and as you rightly put it, a contract is of legal significance. When we have to engage in any contract of any good, let's say with a bottle of water in front of you, I have to buy. It is an agreement we are making by way of a contract. And every contract, for it to be valid and enforceable, should have all the elements of a valid contract, being it the offer and acceptance, the consideration that is provided, the terms of the contract, whether the terms are in conformity with public policy and the laws of the land. And that is very crucial to the very existence of the contract. And so in an instance and in an event where a contract is made or executed and it frowns upon some laws of the land, some enactment, then it calls into inquiry the validity of the contract, which, upon being subjected to scrutiny, it may be declared void. And that is what the finding of 𝐶RAJ has been, that the contract did not follow due process of law. I mean, particularly the procurement laws of the land, such that they did not conform to the procurement laws of the land. And for that matter, it's against the statute, and its validity is in question. And so it's no longer a valid contract. And even as at the time in which it was entered into, because it did not conform to the laws of the land, then it used the legal term void ab initio, such that right from its inception. The contract with 𝐴𝐵𝐸 Company is an illegal contract because it was against the laws of the land, the procurement laws.
I get surprised that this a contract, whether verbal or written, definitely has certain legal implications. I shudder to ask that were there no legal eyes into it for it to be described in terms like dead on arrival?
Yeah. There were indeed legal eyes, I believe, for a project of such magnanimity, a very important project, which, as I mentioned, has generated a lot of public controversy, public issues, and sentiment. It is something that any actor behind this project would, of course, want to play by the books and consult legal services and all that. But what has been is that you'd realize that in the report, the commission had to go into whether or not the project itself was of a public nature, is a public entity, a private one, among other things, because there were some schools of thought who believe that the National Cathedral was incorporated under the Companies Act as a company limited by guarantee and by private actors. And so some people subscribe to the fact that it had been registered or incorporated by the Registrar of Companies by these people, and so it has a private nature to it, such that, I mean, it shouldn't even be subservient to all these laws. And earlier there was also a report by the Attorney General about some monies that had been disbursed by the Ministry of Finance to the cathedral, where the Attorney General stated that, I mean, those monies were grants, and so it was under the Public Financial Management Act rather, and not procurement. And so the grants were such that it is something that we don't expect that it's in a form of a loan where the cathedral was supposed to pay for. But government has the mandate under the Public Financial Management Act to disburse such monies. But the caveat is that the entity who is receiving such an amount should report to government on the progress of such a project, because that project is for a public purpose. And so when government gives such grants, then it ought to be reported for. And so that was the opinion of the learned Attorney General. And I believe that some portions of the report even captured that the board could not account for value for money for the money that has been disbursed. And so that has generated a controversy as to whether from the inception they ought to have been, because it was one of the arguments of the respondents, the cathedral and some of the directors, that per the nature and the scope of their mandate, the Public Procurement Act did not apply to their transactions.
Did not apply to them.
So I believe that it was from the end. I mean, some of these things, some of these advice are given by legal person. And so probably with the legal person who was within them felt that upon consideration of the mandate and what was put before him, he gave an advice that, I mean, per the scope of your work, the nature of the project, we are not under obligation to go strictly according to the procurement laws. And that we fall under a different legal regime, and so we should explore that. And so that may have accounted for what we.
Adam, let me come to you quickly. You've heard J.B. Afrifa saying that perhaps the learned Attorney General has also given his view or his position of that perhaps the secretariat or those who supervise the project, the board, could have come under a different legal regime by virtue of the registrations and things that went on. From where you sit, procurement breaches and the findings of 𝐿HRAJ. Your comments? Adam Senano, if you can hear me. Adam, if you can hear me. So we'll work Adam's line. JB, you still, so in the event where we have the learned Attorney General, or let's say the legal advisor of the state or to the president, saying that there could be another regime that they could have come under, and then the 𝐿HRAJ also mandated to investigate corruption and estate, where do we fall as a which one binds? Because some will say tell that then the 𝐿HRAJ people's position.
Well, not necessarily. The mandate of the Office of the Attorney General is clearly backed by law, the Constitution, Article 88. We know the mandate of the Attorney General, and that of the 𝐿HRAJ is also a constitutional body established by the Constitution, which has an Act of Parliament and Article 216 of the Constitution. So they both have their mandates in their respective regards. Now, 𝐿HRAJ, by a complaint by an identifiable person in the form of the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, made this complaint. Now, 𝐿HRAJ has conducted its findings and made some findings. I mean, conducted an inquiry, made some findings, and made some recommendations, including a possible or a potential prosecution. And we all know that the prosecution is, all prosecutions, criminal prosecutions, are initiated and conducted by the Attorney General. And so it presents a very dicey situation. But the point to make is that they are both performing constitutional duties. They are both backed by law. Their duties are circumscribed by law, and they ought to apply the law where necessary. If the Office of the Attorney General is satisfied that the findings made by Shraj, plus their individual or their independent investigations by calling the persons, the actors involved, would give rise to a criminal prosecution, I believe that the learned Attorney General, as we know, would be more than willing.
We will come to that. We will explore how to go about this. Adam, welcome back. I think your line had issues and challenges. I was asking you your thoughts on the public procurement breaches, as mentioned by the Shraj or the Commission.
Well, I think that they did a comprehensive job of analyzing the issues. A very thorough report, almost 200 pages. I think they intentionally added all the supporting documentation to make sure that all questions were answered up front. And yes, I mean, they clearly indicate that access is still approached, and for which the contract itself considered. I don't think we leave much doubt because of how issues have been thought out. What is surprising and really disappointing is that I believe that the board had an opportunity to consult, have procurement experts, legal experts, project management experts, so that they wouldn't have fallen into this situation. So I'm wondering why the board was considered without the necessary expertise, and when they got into a situation where public funds were being utilized, whether at the management level they didn't have technical officers who would then advise them appropriately. I'm wondering at the operational level, what was the next step of the technical support they had to deliver on this mandate? And so those are questions. But I think that the report in itself is clear, and the conclusions are fair in terms of the evidence, the facts that we have.
No, great. So well, I think most people are impressed about the detailed nature of the investigations that was conducted by Shraj. Let's quickly look at Senator. I'll still start with you on this one. The value for money. You remember that Shraj was saying that an amount should that has been expended so far. You realize that we also know that for about 31 months now, the project has stalled. Some have raised the issues that salaries are still being paid and work is being, people are being paid. So there's the need for, and I think the former Auditor General has also asked that we do forensic investigations into monies that have been spent, that have been spent so far. Do you think that well, people are working, they should be paid, and what will become of it if they say, so that are we looking at surcharging people for monies they've taken or monies that have gone out?
Well, again, I think Shraj was very explicit. They said they were not in a position to do a value for money to see whether the monies expended have been judiciously applied so that the state and the people of Ghana actually benefit. And so they requested that the Auditor Generals take a look. So, for example, if we paid for architectural designs, 32 million Ghana was that value for money. And so you do in-country and maybe out-of-country, other jurisdictions, look at the nature of the cathedral and draw a conclusion on whether the money expended actually gives us value. I think these are worthwhile, very worthy recommendations. As to the people who are working, I think that really the reason why this should have been broken down into discrete phases, tangible phases that you know you've raised the money, you complete it, and for the period under which that part of the phase is being executed, you engage the services of people. So if you know this phase is 6 months, they engage contractually short term to cover that period. I think that the project management expertise is what may need to be questioned here. So if they have staff who are long-term for something that could have been done short-term, services acquired, utilized, and dispensed with, then that again would not be valid for money. So it is useful for us to do that, just so that you don't keep people being paid when really there's nothing being done, because that is very likely a situation to be a waste of resources.
Great. So viewers, if you are just joining us, this is The State, and this afternoon we are looking at the National Cathedral Project on the back of the Shraj report and findings and possible recommendations that have been made. And you just heard anti-corruption campaigner Edem Senanu, and also we are in the studio with 𝐗𝐵 𝐴frɛfa. 𝐗𝐵 𝐴frɛfa is a legal practitioner with Akufo-Addo Prempeh and Company. We are really interrogating the report and look at the way forward. And like I asked earlier on the show, will this be the end, or should it be the end of the project? We are trying to interrogate, and I'm sure the conversation is going on in your homes. But the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is saying that all people who are supposed to be filing their value-added tax, GET fund, national health insurance levy, and communication service tax returns for October 2024 should be doing so. So filing of value-added tax, GET fund, national health insurance, and communication service tax returns for October 2024. So the GRA reminds all persons registered for VAT, NHIL, GET fund levy that VAT, NHIL, GET fund levy, and communications tax returns for October 2024 should be submitted on VAT, NHIL, GET fund levy, and CST returns forms. So they should be submitted on these forms not later than Friday, 29th November. That's Friday, 29th November 2024, which is the last working day of the month. File your VAT, NHIL, GET fund levy, and CST returns early and avoid payment of penalties. For VAT, NHIL, GET fund levy, the penalty is 500 Ghana cedis and a further penalty of 10 Ghana cedis for each day the return is not submitted. For CST operators, late filing of returns attracts a pecuniary penalty of 2,000 Ghana cedis and a further penalty of 500 Ghana cedis for each day the return is not submitted. Remember to submit the October 2024 returns not later than Friday, 29th November 2024, which is the last working day of the month, and avoid paying penalties. Kindly get in touch with us by email on info@gra.gov.gh or on WhatsApp on 055 299 0000, 055 299 000, and 020 063 1664, 055 299 000, and 020 063 1664, and is under the hand of the Commissioner General. So 𝐗𝐵, let's continue our conversation after doing this for the domestic tax people of the GRA. One other issue that caught the attention of many was the issue of multiple identity for the Secretary for the National Cathedral Project, Reverend Kusi Boateng. The committee also has made it findings and ruled, if I could use that word loosely, ruled that there was nothing like that. He was just operating on one particular, just one passport. And Okujeto Ablakwa, the petitioner, is saying that the commission failed to contact or consult other state other data of institute. If they claim they could have checked with DVLA, they could have checked with National Identification Authority and all that. How does that come to you?
Yes. So to put it in proper context, I believe that the crucial issue before the commission that had to be determined was whether or not Reverend Kusi Boateng was in a position of a conflict of interest.
Exactly.
That is what brought about the issue of a double identity, such that when the petitioner considered the corporate structure of GNTS Talent Center, it involved two persons who were part of the respondents and one 𝐖𝐓𝐕 𝐊𝐚𝐬𝐞ɛ𝐛ɔ, if yes, who the petitioner had brought up some evidence that is the same person as Reverend Kwesi Boateng, and so he was holding a double identity because he claims to have intercepted certain documents, official documents such as passports, which belong to both persons.
And I think that was Kwabena
𝐗𝐚𝐬𝐶, sorry, Kwabena 𝐗𝐚𝐬𝐶, and he had 10 which bear different numbers, but in respect of different names. But he was saying that it's the same person, so he was working under double identity. Now, the response of their counsel was that he had at all times material declared to be the same person, and that, there is no issue of he working under different or a double identity, because a double identity would imply that the other name was being posed as a different person other than him. But here is the case, at all times material, he had declared to the board on which he served as secretary that he is the same person, he's the same name. And that disclosure was very crucial because conflict of interest indeed is stipulated under the Constitution. But even under our company laws and Act 992, directors of a board also have to avoid a conflict of interest position. They are at all material times supposed under obligation to operate or work in the best interest of the company in which they serve. And so in an instance where you have to offer an assistance in which, in this regard, and per the fact he had to give some financial assistance to the cathedral at the time that they needed it, a full disclosure ought to be made about your involvement in such companies. In all dealings, good corporate governance would warrant that when a transaction comes up, when a business comes up, when any of those things come up, and you have any involvement, you have any personal involvement or pecuniary involvement in the other entity, full disclosure ought to be made. And so in this instance, there was that full disclosure. He willingly offered an assistance, and per the record, he did not take any interest. It wasn't an interest-bearing assistance that he gave. He willingly gave it. And so you realize that there was evidence to the fact that the company, JNTS Talent Center, transacted an amount of 2.6 million, and same was sent back by the cathedral to him. The record would show. And so if at a particular point in time, months ago, such money was sent to the cathedral and they received it and is on record, and same amount was sent back, he had no personal benefit or personal gain from that. And so the commission, in arriving at that, said that there was no conflict of interest position, and clearly there was no issue of a double identity because he had at all times maintained that he was the same person. If it was an issue of a double identity, then we'll be looking at instances of personation under our criminal laws and recommendations of such prosecutions to be made. But there was no such finding. So I believe that it's
Adam, now let me. So Sammy Okudzeto-Ablakwa has described the findings as disappointing. He has even said that he referred to it as whitewashing and then trying to sweep corruption under the carpet. And he's not. We can tell he's not really happy about it. Some have argued that it's going to more or less weaken his anti-campaign crusade because he has really been hard on this double identity and this Kwesi Boateng, and he has even more so alluded to certain criminal dealings so far as this issue, and now that has been resolved. Does it weaken his anti-campaign stance?
Well, in my view, I think there are two separate issues. The conflict of interest issue, which was relating to the 2.6 million or so was supposed to have financed the cathedral, and the question was there a situation of corruption, or was there a personal gain with family or friends? I think that the evidence was clear in that regard that there was nothing to gain out of this. So there wasn't an actual situation of conflict of interest. However, I have a different opinion on the issue of the two passports, because I have not had a categoric response from I think that he doesn't have two passports with different dates. I think my challenge is there are different names that is possible, but then when you have different dates of birth, then the question in my mind is like, why would you have such a situation relating to documents that refer to the same person? So I am not satisfied, in my opinion, with regard to the issue of the passports and how it has been addressed in the report. And I think that is my own misgiving about the trial report. I think that they did not properly separate the issues, and I don't think that the issue of the two passports has been adequately addressed. I think there are questions that remain unanswered in that regard.
So that you, aside this position that you have, that you thought it separate, they could have been dealt with separately, you are impressed with the detailed nature. I think what both gentlemen have been saying, and I'm sure you yourself, you don't have any challenge with the detailed report that.
No, I think that in general the report has been quite thorough. That is only in this element, and I don't think it weakens Mr. Blackwell's issues. I think that, I mean, without him having formally written to charge to investigate, we would have been deprived of the information we now have. I think that it also gives us some very clear action to bring forward in terms of how we compose board and who should be responsible for ensuring that the various laws are being followed. So I don't think it was an exercise in futility, and I don't think anyone should think that weakened the case that we brought before trial.
So it wouldn't weaken. JB, you wanted to say something quickly. Then we'll go for a break.
I believe that on the issue of the names and the passport, it was clear from the record that the counsel for Kwesi Boateng stated that he only had one passport, and that was in the name of the 𝐖𝐓𝐕 𝐊𝐴𝐚. And yes, I would agree with my brother if he says that the commission could have gone further in those deliberations. But I mean, the fact remains that his position was that he has only one passport, and with even the driver's license that the petitioner attached, it was an expired license, which is clearly not effective, and so that cannot be the base. And so with the kind of investigation that went on, when you look at the record, you realize that it was a thorough one. They invited a number of people. They visited the site in respect of looking at what work had been done so far and all that. And so they did a good job.
They did a good job. So viewers, we are discussing National Cathedral, and Adam Sen, I know is an anti-corruption campaigner. You just heard JB Afrifa is a legal practitioner with Akufo-Addo, Prempeh and Company. You've heard a lot. You've now understood what the Latin phrases and the positions of the findings are on procurement law, and then the conflict of interest and double identity. I'll take a quick break, and when I'm back, we're going to look at the last leg of the findings, which recommended that board members or members of the board of trustees should be prosecuted. We'll look at it, and then some have also argued that there is a deficit with getting all pastors or men of God doing contractual business for the state. Stay with me, I'll be right back.
The Christian Service University, a fully chartered private university in Ghana, is inviting applications for admission. Undergraduate programs include BSc Nursing and Midwifery, Computer Science, Information Technology, Bachelor of Business Administration, BA Communication Studies, Planning and Social Development, and Theology with Administration. Postgraduate programs include MSc in Accounting and Finance, Monitoring and Evaluation, Corporate Planning and Governance. We have MA, MPhil Communication Studies, MA Christian Ministry with Management, Event Management, MPhil English and Mathematics Education. With quality, faculty and state-of-the-art facilities, we blend academic work with entrepreneurial mindset in all our programs. For more information, please call 0246 275375, 0240 154825 or 0244 596603 or visit our website www.csuc.edu.gh. CSU is located at Odenaho Kwadaso on the Kumasi Obuasi Road, 100 meters off Star Junction. Choose CSU today to secure the future of Africa.
And to make him better known. That's
Seek the peace and prosperity of the nation, for in its prosperity lies your own prosperity. Fellow Ghanaians, it's time to rise in prayer for the nation. It's Methodists at prayer for peaceful elections. The presiding bishop, the Most Reverend Professor 𝗟𝗓𝐕 invites all Methodists and Ghanaians to join the Methodist Church Ghana as we pray for peace before, during and after the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections in Ghana. This special prayer service comes off in all Methodist societies across the connection on Thursday, December 5, 2024 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The passage for the prayer is Jeremiah 29, verse 11. There will also be a live prayer session on WTV on Thursday, 5th December 2024 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday, 6th December 2024 from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Don't miss out. Be a part of the chain of prayer to secure Ghana's peace. I will serve the church.
Welcome back. This is the state, and we are discussing National Cathedral project, and we are looking at the findings that the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has brought out as at the 22nd November, and we've had huge personalities, people who should be talking about this particular subject in the space because of the technical knowledge they bring on board so far as this project is concerned. Adam Senano is an anti-corruption campaigner, and then we are joined in the studio by JB Afrifa, who works with Akufo-Addo Prempeh and Company, also a child of the month. I didn't want to tell you that, but I just added it. We are doing justice to the topic. We have looked at the procurement breaches that we looked at, and then we also looked at the second leg of it that dealt with the double identity of the man and conflict of interest. We are back, and then we will look at the third leg of it that is of interest to all of us, the recommendation that the Board of Trustees or members of the Board of Trustees should be prosecuted. Let me start with you. Prosecution is a strong legal word, and
a very strong one.
so how can this be? What do they mean by that, and how can this be implemented?
Yes. So the point to make here is that SHRAJ makes the findings. SHRAJ does not have the mandate to enforce their own findings by way of this prosecution, and constitutionally under Article 88, as I mentioned earlier, the Attorney General is responsible for the initiation and conduct of all criminal prosecutions on behalf of the Republic. And so the point to make is that it will be the Attorney General to embark on such a prosecution. Now, before the Attorney General would initiate any criminal prosecution, I think that the points to look at is that whether there has been an act which has been committed, an act or omission by a person, and that act is something that has been provided in a written law and it has sanctions. Now, the Commission made reference to some of the laws that had been violated and all that. And so it would be an issue of those laws that we'll be looking at as to whether or not they have to be prosecuted. Now, we are looking at the persons involved.
Yeah.
When you look at the report, you'd realize that Counsel for 4th to 7th respondents raised an issue that they had named the National Board as a respondent, and he, in his opinion, felt that that was a misnomer. It was something that was wrong because you cannot name a whole board because it's an artificial, entity. The board is an artificial entity. What the practice has been that if a company has to be responsible for something. I mean, you see the company and not necessarily its board, but we all know that a company being an artificial entity works with people. They are the operating minds of the company.
Yeah.
And so what would be is that the criminal prosecution would be leveled against the individuals on the board. Now we'll be looking at their activity or the role that they have played, the obligations they have played in respect of these alleged breaches and findings made by the commission. And I mean, the Attorney General has to be satisfied that indeed there is a case to make against some of this. That's why the commission recommended that the Attorney General and the other agencies should also investigate and initiate prosecutions where necessary. And so it would be for the satisfaction and the discretion, not necessarily satisfaction, which may imply a personal, but the discretion by the Attorney General to initiate and conduct some.
So this does not mean that they are going to go after the board members right away.
It is not a mandatory that they necessarily have to. As I said, the conduct or the duties of the Attorney General is under the Constitution, and they have to exercise their discretion to all manner of persons without fear of favor. But because it's a legal procedure, they have to be satisfied that they have enough evidence. They have a case to make against some of these people. But you'd realize that the board in its even final recommendations took into account some of the informalities that were involved in the transactions and meetings that were known, including breaches of the Companies Act in respect of the record that they keep. You realize that in some of the transactions that happened, even with the financial assistance provided by the fourth respondent, there were no minutes to account for that. And so the recommendations were that they should even be engaged in corporate governance training, among other things. And so you'd realize that, I mean, some of the actors involved are distinguished and esteemed men of God. People that, yes, by the nature of the project, they were deemed fit to steer the affairs and manage the company. But we all know that capacity building, it's something that's progressive. And so in respect of areas that they will need or they ought to be furnished with, I mean, getting all it takes to be able to properly manage the cathedral and incorporate all the corporate governance, the good corporate governance, would assist them to see that this project is something that would continue. And so entirely it would be the discretion of the Attorney General.
Maybe the discretion of the Attorney General.
Case to make against the individual actors.
Okay. Adam, interesting, because some of us, those who are on the sidelines of anti-corruption, they say they should arrest them and jail them. It's working. If you are found wanting, it should be dealt with. And but he's just explained that doesn't just work like that. It has to be the Attorney General, as recommended by Shrach, investigate and then see if there is any case against any of the actors to be prosecuted. And Adam, you are quoted as saying that we made reference to issues of corporate governance challenge there. That is a deficit in the theological space, because we have all our men being men of God. And you said they lack the technical competence to handle subjects of this nature. What do you say now that you have the space?
Yeah, it's a major concern. It's always important for media to carefully read between the lines, because indeed, Shrach's recommendation was to investigate and then prosecute. In other words, given the breaches of the criminal laws, establish whether this was intentional, whether some people have taken advantage of that benefit, whether some people should be found culpable, and in that case, then prosecute. So you sudden thinking that it means that they are just going to be prosecuted is not an accurate interpretation. But having said that, I have pointed out that this is the second time in recent history that I, and I'm sure many other people, have been embarrassed and uncomfortable. In the banking crisis, there's also the situation where we had some high-level clergy persons involved. And once again, it was clear that there was a deficit in terms of the technical capabilities required to be involved at board-level functions. And so, yes, this is something that if there are pretty many clergymen from your positions, already have previous experience or exposure or expertise they ought to be very cautious about taking up such responsibilities. And even the cost of the project, the enterprise, the nature of project for them was changing. Because in this instance, we started out with a categoric statement that this was not going to involve public funds. But we see to transition along the course. And that may have been part of the reason why the initial board was mainly clergy persons. I'm thinking that we should not repeat that. Our board should always have the competencies required to execute and supervise the various entities that they are required to. And yes, there is that deficiency we must keep in mind if we choose to appoint key persons to such positions.
So going forward after this report, what's next? What do you think?
Certainly, we should have some guidelines on the composition of boards. That definitely should happen. Again, I'm really curious about the management level, because in my mind, they needed some level of tax at the management level. I think even the public financial management legal framework requires that kind of staffing to be able to execute some of it. So going forward, we need to make sure that the laws are being strictly adhered to. And we need to have monitoring systems that don't wait for 1 year, 2 years, in this case, more than 2 years, before we start doing this, because a citizen in a private capacity has triggered an investigation. A lot of things can go wrong.
Let me ask you finally, Adam, do you see Ghana having a national cathedral?
I can't say. I was not aware of the idea. I just think that it has started smaller model rather than a gargantuan structure that may, for practical purposes, fundraising purposes, was difficult to achieve. I think the idea is still genuine and useful one. I think it's worthy. If Ghana can still proceed by reviewing where we stand today and still achieve something, I think it will be the way to go.
It will be the way to go. JB, final words.
I think I'll agree with Senator Adam, who stated that, it's a good project, but it's something that we have to be very careful about its execution, so as not to annoy the majority of the public to say that we are disturbing them so much with this cathedral. Because already there were concerns about how this project was even going to finance. And there were issues that, there had been some statements made by government that it was going to be financed by private persons, and realize that we see state funds being expended. And that has been the crucial issue of some persons, that the public officers promise, or let me say the presidential candidates promise, is something that we are now using state funds to finance, when the communication was that it was going to be private funds from the churches and all that. I think that we have to look at its execution. Yes, it is a good project. It would foster our religious harmony, among other things. But we have to look at going by the books, acting in accordance with the laws of the land, such that everything would be made appropriate.
Everything will be made appropriate. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So that has been 𝐖𝐓𝐕 who is a legal practitioner with Akufo-Addo Prempeh and Company Chambers, and we also had Adam Senano, anti-corruption campaigner, joining us to do this conversation. How time flies so soon, we just have to go. But this beautiful, our beloved National Cathedral, will it remain a priority project? Will we see this architecture that seeks to embody the spirituality and our national identity see the light of day? Let the conversation continue. I am back on your screen on Wednesday. Thank you very much, production team, Adam Agbole, producer, Eric, Anita, Felix, and all of you back there doing the good job. Thank you very much. Let's keep talking about the National Cathedral. Maybe one day we will see it. Thank you very much. New to Ankara. I'm back on Friday. Goodbye.